The laughter didn't just echo, it cracked through the marble hall like glass exploding. In the center of the gala, beneath chandeliers dripping with gold light, a woman in a navy gown jabbed her finger toward the young black woman in the simple black dress. Her voice sliced the air clean in half. "Hey, Blackie, go serve!" For a heartbeat, the entire gallery froze. Forks hovered midair. A violinist missed a note. Someone at the champagne table coughed, then went silent. And she, the young woman with the halo of dark curls, didn't move, didn't turn, didn't flinch, just lifted her phone slowly to her ear, as if the room wasn't suffocating around her. The white family behind the insult burst into louder laughter, the kind that tries to drown out guilt before it can surface. 3 men in tuxedos, a woman in a bridal gown, and at the center, the older woman, icy jewelry, flawless hair, grinning like she'd just delivered the punchline of the evening.
The woman in the navy gown stepped closer, practically performing for the crowd now. "Come on, sweetheart," she said loudly. "Chop, chop." "People like you know how to move plates, don't they?" A few people gasped. One man whispered, "Did she really just..." Another murmured, "This is going to get ugly." But the young woman just pressed her phone tighter to her ear. Her voice was low, steady, too steady. "Dad," she whispered. A pause, her jaw set. "Cancel the $750 million deal." Behind her the family froze. The laughter choked mid-breath, but before the energy in the room could flip, before the first tremor of fear could ripple across their perfect smiles, the narrator's voice broke gently through the tension. "Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe." These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to her.
The moment where someone decided her tone, her hair, her skin defined her position in the world. The moment where a stranger tried to shrink her.
The word million was still hanging in the air when the older woman's smile cracked. Not fully. Just a hairline fracture like porcelain under too much pressure. She blinked confused for the first time all night, then tried to cover it with a laugh that didn't land. "Oh, honey," she scoffed, touching her pearls. "You're adorable. Playing important on the phone, sweetheart, we all know what you are." The crowd didn't laugh this time. A few guests exchanged glances. Someone shifted in their seat. The violinist stopped completely now, bow hovering in midair as if afraid to move. The young black woman lowered her phone, not defensive, not emotional, just steady, like someone who'd already run this marathon in 100 rooms and 100 lifetimes. Behind the older woman, the 3 men in tuxedos puffed up with fragile confidence, the kind inherited, not earned. One of them, the groom and the white dress couple, let out a condescending chuckle.
"Oh." Behind her, the family froze. The laughter choked mid-breath. But before the energy in the room could flip, before the first tremor of fear could ripple across their perfect smiles, the narrator's voice broke gently through the tension. "Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe." These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to her. The camera returns to her face, poised, unreadable. She lowered the phone slowly, and the entire gala, held its breath. The word million was still hanging in the air when the older woman's smile cracked. Not fully. Just a hairline fracture like porcelain under too much pressure. She blinked, confused for the first time all night, then tried to cover it with a laugh that didn't land. "Oh, honey," she scoffed, touching her pearls. "You're adorable. Playing important on the phone? Sweetheart, we all know what you are." The crowd didn't laugh this time. A few guests exchanged glances. Someone shifted in their seat. The violinist stopped completely now, bow hovering in midair as if afraid to move. The young black woman lowered her phone. Not defensive, not emotional. Just steady, like someone who'd already run this marathon in 100 rooms and 100 lifetimes. Behind the older woman, the three men in tuxedos puffed up with fragile confidence, the kind inherited, not earned. One of them, the groom in the white dress couple, let out a condescending chuckle. "You seriously expect anyone here to believe you're connected to a $750M deal?" he asked. "Look at you." His fiancée nodded, gripping his arm as if she were supporting something noble instead of something cruel. A murmur swept across the tables. A ripple of discomfort. A whisper of, "She doesn't look like staff," from somewhere in the back. But the insult landed anyway. Her eyes flicked toward the marble floor for just a second, not in shame, but in restraint.
He didn't speak, but the way he positioned himself between the bridal group and the woman said everything. Another guest, a middle-aged man in a slate suit, placed his drink down a little too hard and whispered, "I think she's important." His wife nodded. "Important doesn't even cover it." The groom laughed nervously, trying to reclaim the room. "Look, sweetheart," he said, lifting both hands, as if he were explaining basic math. "Just admit you were trying to look rich." No one here believes that call meant anything. He didn't realize how loud he'd said it, or how silent the room had become. The young woman looked at him the way a surgeon looks at a tumor, not with anger, but with precision. "Are you sure you want to keep going?" she asked softly. He snorted. "What are you gonna do? Tell your imaginary billionaire daddy?" A few guests gasped. Someone murmured, "Oh, he's dead. He doesn't even know it yet." The young woman's expression didn't change.
"We'll find something for you to do. Maybe clear tables, pick up glasses, something you people are—" She didn't finish the sentence. The room had shifted. Tension tightened, like a string pulled too far. The young woman didn't break eye contact. Her voice came out soft, almost delicate, but every syllable had weight. "Do you talk to all strangers this way? Or just the ones you think can't touch you?" Silence. Then the groom tried again, forcing a grin. "Oh, come on, don't be dramatic. It's a party, don't pretend you're—" "Enough," she said quietly. 2 syllables. Enough to cut him clean. A guest at the nearest table whispered, "She's not joking." Another leaned in. "Did you hear her tone? That wasn't a bluff." Someone else murmured, This is going to explode." The older woman crossed her arms, annoyed now, her voice losing polish. "You really think you can threaten us with some imaginary deal?" she hissed. "You're nobody."
The server from earlier stepped forward at once, voice cracking. "Ma'am, don't." But he was too late. The older woman squeezed, leaning in. "You don't make threats at my event." "Understood. You're done." The young woman didn't pull back, didn't recoil. Her stillness was so complete, so unnervingly calm, it made the older woman freeze mid-breath. "You shouldn't have touched me," the young woman said quietly. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. A ripple tore through the guests. Whispers, phones raised discreetly, the violinist lowering her bow and backing away. The groom laughed nervously, though no one else did. "Oh, please, what's she gonna do?" He gestured to the crowd like he was putting on a show. "She's playing victim now. Look at her. She's—" A hand landed on his shoulder, hard. It was the older man from the slate suit, a guest, not staff eyes cold with disapproval.
Just enough to make them realize this wasn't a girl they could shrink. This was the beginning of their collapse.
The room didn't breathe. Not after that wrist grab. Not after the warning. Not after the older man stepped in. Everything hovered suspended in a sharp, trembling stillness. Then from the far side of the gala floor, a voice cracked through the tension. I saw everything. It wasn't loud, but it carried. Truth always does. A young woman, mid-20s, wearing a silver staff badge, half hidden behind her shawl, stepped forward. Her hands shook, but her spine didn't. Her name tag read, Maya Lynn. The older woman scoffed. "Oh, wonderful. A staff member. What you want a tip? Stay out of this." But Maya didn't stop, didn't blink, didn't fold. "I checked her in," Maya said, pointing gently toward the young black woman. "She's not staff. She's a verified VIP attendee. High clearance." She glanced at the groom. "And none of you had the right to touch her." A ripple went through the crowd, one of realization, one of shifting loyalties. The groom's fiancée whispered, "We should go." He shook his head. "No, she's lying." Maya swallowed hard. "She's not lying," said another voice. This time it came from the bartender, a Latino man in his 30s who'd been quietly watching, jaw clenched tight. "I was right there when they laughed at her for walking in alone. I heard everything, all of it." The older woman turned on him. "You people?" She froze, catching herself too late. Too late for the guests. Too late for the cameras. Too late for the fragile, collapsing script of superiority she'd been performing all night. Maya stepped closer to the young black woman, her voice trembling but unwavering. "You don't have to stay quiet," Maya whispered. "Not tonight." And for a fraction of a second, barely a breath, the young woman's composure shifted. Not broken, not shaken, but remembering. A flashback hit her like a distant siren, 14 years old. A mall boutique, a security guard blocking her path. No loitering. No questions, no apology, just dismissal. She had swallowed it back then. She had walked away. She had learned silence. Not tonight. Her gaze lifted colder now, deeper now, a storm forming behind her eyes. The groom, sensing the shift, tried one last absurd defense. "She grabbed your wrist because you were being difficult," gasps. Disbelief. A few people actually stepped back from him. Maya's voice cut in sharper than his excuses. No, she said. She grabbed her because she thought she could. The chandelier light gleamed off the young woman's curls as she finally stepped forward again, reclaiming the center of the room that was always hers. And in that stillness, every guest understood the witnesses had chosen a side. And it wasn't the family who started this. It was her, the woman they tried to break. The woman who would break them instead. The moment the witnesses aligned behind her, the air shifted again tighter, denser, coiled like the room itself was holding its breath. That was when she lifted her phone. Not rushed, not panicked, just inevitable. A simple gesture, but the entire bridal group reacted as if she'd drawn a weapon. The groom barked, "Oh, come on, what now?" Another fake call. The older woman sneered. "Really? You're still pretending?" Her voice dripped with a final desperate arrogance. "Who do you think you're calling?" The young woman didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge the noise. She pressed one button, just one, and brought the phone to her ear. "Dad," she said softly. The word hit harder than any shout. They crossed the line. The older woman froze mid-eye roll. The groom's fiancé's hand fell from his arm. A few guests whispered sharply, "Dad, is she wait? Cross what line?" Then her voice sharpened the steel beneath the calm, finally surfacing. "Activate Protocol 7. A shockwave ran through the crowd, not because they knew what it meant, but because she said it like someone used to being obeyed. The groom laughed nervously. "Protocol. What are you, CIA?" But his voice trembled. On the other end, a low, composed voice replied through the speaker. "Confirmed. Protocol 7 is live. Full suspension of negotiations. Executing now. Protocol. Suspension. Executing." All the wrong words for the bridal family, all the right ones for the rest of the room. Maya's eyes widened. The bartender let out a quiet, "Oh, damn." Even the violinist stepped back, bow pressed to her chest. The older woman's confidence shattered. "Negotiations," she whispered. Her face strained. Suspension of what the young woman finally looked at her. Straight through her. "You wanted to know who I think I am," she said calmly. "You're about to find out." The groom stepped forward again, still clinging to the last scraps of control. You can't pause a 750 mus acquisition with one phone call." He didn't believe the words, even as he shouted them. Her father's voice came through the speaker again, firmer, colder. "Sweetheart, I'm heading to the boardroom now. Anything else you need," handled dead silence. No one in the room moved. Not the guests, not the staff, not even the chandelier lights dared flicker. The young woman lowered the phone slowly, her gaze landing back on the people who had mocked her, touched her, dismissed her. "Yes," she said quietly. One more thing. The older woman swallowed hard. What? What thing? The young woman stepped closer. Not threatening, simply claiming space that was always hers. Make sure they're watching, she said. And every head in the gala turned toward the collapsing family. Their downfall wasn't coming. It had already begun. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The young woman stepped into the golden center of the ballroom, the room's glow catching on her curls like a spotlight she didn't ask for but fully owned. Every eye followed her. Even the chandeliers seemed to lean closer. The groom whispered, "What is she doing?" His mother hissed, "She's bluffing. She has to be bluffing." But her voice shook now, breaking on the last word. The young woman let the silence stretch not awkwardly, but deliberately. The kind of silence only people with real power can wield. Then she spoke. "My name," she said, "is Arielle Carter." The groom blinked. Carter, like... The bartender choked on his breath. Maya's hands flew to her mouth. A murmur rolled through the hall. Carter Group, the acquisition. No. No way. Is she? Arielle didn't stop. My father, she continued, is Nelson Carter, CEO of Carter Group, and the $750 million deal you mocked. Her gaze swept across the bridal family, slow, unflinching. Was with your company. A collective gasp broke through the room, like a wave hitting glass. The groom staggered back a step. His fiancée's hand flew to her face. The older woman's jaw fell open, trembling. But Arielle wasn't finished. Her voice dropped to a measured surgical calm. You called me Blackie. You grabbed my wrist. You humiliated me in front of 200 guests. She paused, letting the weight settle. And you did all of it. To the daughter of the company that was about to save yours. The older woman stuttered. Wait, no, you can't. This is a misunderstanding. Arielle took one step closer. You don't get to call it a misunderstanding now, she said. You called it the truth when you believed I was beneath you. The chandelier flickered again, as if the building itself reacted. Guests leaned in. Phones rose, not to record drama, but to witness a reckoning. Arielle lifted her phone just enough for the bridal family to see the screen. A notification pulsed across it. Protocol 7 complete negotiations terminated. Board notified. The older woman clutched her chest. Oh my God. What have you done? Arielle exhaled softly, almost sadly. What you forced me to do. Then she delivered the line that made the entire room erupt into whispers and sharp, stunned breaths. You called me a nobody. In front of the company you needed most. The groom's knees actually buckled. The fall had officially begun. The groom didn't just buckle, he folded, catching himself on the edge of a table as crystal glasses rattled against the linen. His fiancée pulled away from him like his guilt might transfer by touch. The older woman tried to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. Arielle, sweetheart, we didn't know you weren't. You didn't look like. The crowd recoiled at that last word. Look, as if appearance granted humanity, as if dignity required a dress code. A guest whispered, she still doesn't get it. Another, this is worse than I thought. Arielle didn't blink. You didn't need to know who I was, she said. You only needed to know who you were. The older woman's face crumpled. Please just undo the suspension. You don't understand what this means for us. Our company will collapse, Arielle finished. Yes, I'm aware. The groom shot up desperation, shredding what little composure he had left. You can't do that. You can't just walk in here and ruin our entire future. Arielle tilted her head slightly. You ruined it, she said. You just didn't expect the consequences to wear a dress instead of a suit. Gasps. A stunned laugh from someone near the bar. Phones rose higher now, not to mock but to capture justice unfolding in real time. Maya stepped forward again, voice steady despite her trembling hands. They grabbed you, Maya said, looking directly at the bridal family. They mocked you. They treated you like help. I saw everything. The staff saw everything. The bartender nodded. Everyone here did. The groom's fiancée backed away from her future in-laws as if the truth were radioactive. This is humiliating, she whispered. Arielle looked at her, not unkindly. No, she said, this is accountability. The older woman's mask finally cracked. Tears gathered in her eyes, not from remorse, but fear. Our board will be destroyed, she whispered. The shareholders, the merger, the press. Arielle's voice softened, but only slightly. You weren't afraid of consequences when you grabbed my wrist, she said. You weren't afraid when you called me out of my name. The groom tried one last breathless defense. We were stressed. It's been a long week. You can't judge us on one moment. Arielle repeated. Her voice hit the room like a slow-moving earthquake. It wasn't a moment. It was a mindset. Silence. Then rumbling agreement from multiple corners of the hall. Arielle lifted her phone one more time, not to threaten, but to reveal. A live ticker notification glowed across the screen. Carter Group officially withdraws from Aurelian Marsh merger. Stock down 18%. The older woman's knees nearly gave out. The collapse wasn't coming. It was happening. And the entire gala was watching it unfold.
The ballroom no longer felt like a celebration. It felt like a courtroom, not the kind with judges and gavels, the kind where truth weighs more than any verdict. And in this courtroom, every guest had just become a witness. Aurelia Marsh, the older woman who'd hurled the first insult, clutched her necklace as if it might keep her from drowning. Her son stood frozen. His fiancée shielded her face with her hand, wishing she could vanish into the marble, but no one was looking away.
Arielle didn't move. She let the witnesses speak. A group of women near the champagne tower nodded fiercely. One of them, a white woman in her 60s, said, "We all saw it. She came in quietly. You targeted her. You thought she was lesser." Another voice chimed in, a finance executive with slicked back hair. "If this is how you treat people publicly, I can't imagine what your corporate culture looks like." The groom opened his mouth to protest, but every direction he turned, he met another pair of disapproving eyes. "This is insane," he shouted. "You're all turning on us for a misunderstanding." But the guests had already moved past him. A Latina business owner stepped forward, arms crossed. "It wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a pattern, and we recognized it the second it happened." Maya, still standing by Arielle, added, "You didn't even look at her face when you gave the orders. You just looked at her skin." A collective ripple of agreement moved through the hall. The older woman's voice broke as she whispered, "Please, this will destroy us." Arielle finally stepped forward again. Her presence alone quieted the room. "You destroyed yourselves," she said. "All I did was stop protecting you from the consequences." The groom's voice cracked. "We were stressed. It was the wedding rehearsal. Emotions were high." "Stress doesn't create prejudice," Arielle replied. "It reveals it." A murmur of approval rolled through the guests, and for the first time the bridal family realized there was nowhere left to hide. Not behind wealth, not behind status, not behind excuses. The room had chosen a side, and it wasn't theirs. Arielle turned slightly, almost as if preparing for the next move. The air tightened. The night wasn't done with them yet, not even close.
The groom opened his mouth to protest, but every direction he turned, he met another pair of disapproving eyes. "This is insane," he shouted. "You're all turning on us for a misunderstanding." But the guests had already moved past him. A Latina business owner stepped forward, arms crossed. "It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a pattern, and we recognized it the second it happened." Maya, still standing by Arielle, added, "You didn't even look at her face when you gave the orders. You just looked at her skin." A collective ripple of agreement moved through the hall. The older woman's voice broke as she whispered, "Please, this will destroy us." Arielle finally stepped forward again. Her presence alone quieted the room. "You destroyed yourselves," she said. "All I did was stop protecting you from the consequences." The groom's voice cracked. "We were stressed. It was the wedding rehearsal, emotions were high." "Stress doesn't create prejudice," Arielle replied.
They can," the executive said, and they did. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Arielle didn't look triumphant. She didn't smirk. She didn't savor the fall. She simply watched it happen, silently, steadily, the way storms watch ships that refuse to heed warning winds. Then the executive added, voice barely audible, "They asked me to inform Ms. Carter directly." Every head swiveled toward Arielle. The groom made a choking sound. His mother clutched her chest tighter. His fiancée backed away as if witnessing a slow-moving catastrophe. Arielle met the executive's eyes, calm and unshaken. "Thank you," she said. He nodded and stepped back quickly, aligning himself with the witnesses, not the culprits. The groom suddenly scrambled forward, dropping to his knee in front of Arielle. "Please," he begged, voice cracking apart. "Please, don't let them ruin us. We were stupid, not evil." Arielle inhaled slowly, not cruelly, not victoriously. Just with the clarity of someone who finally saw things as they were. You weren't stupid, she said. You were confident I didn't matter. The ballroom fell silent again, trembling on the edge of what she would do next, because everyone knew the next move would be the one they never recovered from. Arielle didn't look down at the groom kneeling in front of her. His desperation shook the air around them, but she stood perfectly still, a pillar in the center of a storm he created with his own arrogance. "Please," he whispered, his voice cracking. "We're begging you. You don't understand what this will do to our family." Arielle's gaze stayed level. "I understand exactly," she said softly. "I just don't think you do." Behind him, Aurelia Marsh tried to step forward, but her heels slipped on the polished floor. She caught herself on a chair, breath-ragged mascara beginning to smear. "You can't destroy us," she rasped. "We've built this company for 3 generations." Arielle's eyes flicked to her calm, unpitying. "You didn't need my help to destroy it," she said. "You did that the moment you decided someone's worth was measured by how expensive their dress looked." A wave of murmurs rolled across the ballroom. Aurelia flinched like each whisper cut her directly.
They sank deep, exact, inescapable. Aurelia Marsh, the mother, clasped her trembling hands near her chest. "We didn't mean harm," she pleaded. "Please, we didn't know you were—" Arielle cut in softly. "You didn't need to know who I was to treat me like a human being." The older woman froze, as if the world had slapped her, not with violence, but with truth. A guest near the bar muttered, "There it is." Another whispered, "That's the line that ends careers."
"Actions have consequences," she said, "even for the wealthy." The groom reached for her dress hem in a final broken attempt. "Please, Arielle, we'll fix it. We'll make it right, please." Arielle stepped back and his hand landed on the marble instead. "You had every chance to do the right thing," she said. "You chose cruelty." Maya took a step closer to Arielle, and the entire room subtly shifted with her. Guests angled their bodies in support, forming a silent arc, not blocking Arielle but shielding her. The groom saw it. He saw everything he once believed about power and status crumble in a single collective movement. Arielle looked at the family one last time, composed, resolute, almost solemn. "I didn't raise my voice," she said quietly, "but I raised the consequences." And the room exhaled, knowing the ending was inevitable now. Part 12 would not save them. It would finish them. The ballroom seemed to hold its breath one final time. Not out of fear now, but out of clarity, a kind of collective awakening. The reality of what had unfolded was no longer a shock, no longer a question of right or wrong. It was truth laid bare under chandelier light. Arielle stood at the center of that truth, not triumphant, not vengeful, simply resolute. Aurelia Marsh sank into a chair, shaking, overwhelmed by the weight of a collapse she had personally engineered. Her son knelt beside her, still reaching for forgiveness he now understood he had no right to request. His fiancée stood rigid, staring into nothing, realizing she was marrying into a family whose downfall was of their own making. But Arielle didn't look at any of them anymore. Her gaze swept the crowd, the witnesses who had chosen dignity over convenience, truth over silence. Maya stood closest, eyes shining with pride she didn't try to hide. The bartender gave a single respectful nod. The investors, executives, and guests murmured among themselves, not gossip, but accountability taking root. A soft chime echoed from Arielle's phone. A final notification. "Press release live. Public statement. Scheduled in 20 minutes. Shareholder transition in motion. Aurelia let out a broken sob. Arielle didn't flinch. You said I didn't belong here, she said quietly, her voice filling the hall without rising. But belonging isn't something you grant. It's something you recognize. No one dared interrupt. You looked at me, she continued, and decided everything about me in a single glance. And that assumption cost you your empire. The groom choked on a breath. Aurelia trembled. Arielle stepped forward, not toward them, but past them, reclaiming the space they tried to deny her. Maya instinctively followed, matching her pace.
Not cruelly, not victoriously, just with the clarity of someone who finally saw things as they were. You weren't stupid, she said. You were confident I didn't matter. The ballroom fell silent again, trembling on the edge of what she would do next. Because everyone knew the next move would be the one they never recovered from.